It's Friday night in a small, quiet Vermont town, and 17-year-old Brianna Maitland is just leaving her job at a restaurant. It's late, and the roads are dark. She's supposed to drive straight home, but she never makes it. The next day, the cops find the car about a mile down the road, backed into the side of an old abandoned farmhouse. Her doors are unlocked. Her belongings are still inside, but Brianna Maitland is nowhere to be found. Hey guys, it's Diana. Welcome back to the Mad Chatter podcast. If you like true crime told to you like we're sitting across the table drinking coffee together, then you are definitely in the right place. Like and subscribe for more. Today we are traveling back to March 19th, 2004 to the Brianna Maitland case. Now, Brianna was a 17-year-old girl who actually had just completed her GED that day, and she was out with her mom shopping to celebrate, and her mom said, everything seemed to be going fine, and then all of a sudden Brianna was looking out the window of the store and seemed to get agitated and just went outside. And when her mom finally caught up with her or whatever and was asking her if was everything okay, she was just like, yeah, everything was fine. Now I've heard also that Brianna's dad, Bruce, said that, Brianna smoked cigarettes and she probably just wanted to run outside and hit a cigarette and didn't feel like hearing her mom, Kelly, say anything to her about it. So while some people think it was like a build up to something that was happening later on that day, because she did get, she went missing that night. So some people think that whatever happened beforehand directly correlated with that. But it sounds like her dad was saying that it really wasn't that. It was just, she probably just wanted to go out and smoke, honestly. So after she goes shopping with her mom, she goes to her, one of her jobs. She has 2 part-time jobs. And the one that she was at that night was the Black Lantern Inn. She was the kitchen help there. And so she worked her shift. And when she was getting ready to leave, I guess a couple of the people that she worked with were like, hey, do you want to go out to dinner? Do you want to go grab something to eat? And Brianna was like, no, I got to work at my other job tomorrow. So I just want to go home and go to sleep. And that was at like 11:20 p.m. that they saw her getting in her car and leaving work. Like everything was fine. Now, if you're wondering, what is a 17-year-old doing with 2 jobs? Let me backtrack a little bit, because remember how I said she had gotten her GED? Well, I guess she dropped out of high school and she went and got her GED and I guess had passed it that day. Like I think she had one more section, and that was like the math section, and she had passed it that day. So her mom was taking her shopping, but Brianna did not live with her parents because like they lived in a rural part of Vermont, right? And Brianna wanted to go to school with like her friends that lived in a city like 20 to 30 miles or 20 to 30 minutes away. And let me just tell you this, the town that she wanted to move to that had more people had like 900 and something people. Like that's it. To put that in perspective, the high school that my kids went to had 2,000 people. Okay. So their whole ass town was less than what my kids' high school was. So I guess that was like bigger to them. So I don't know how many people were in this city she lived in before. Like what, 7? I don't know, but probably not a lot. So she was basically, since she didn't want to live at her parents' and she wanted to go to school with like her friends and stuff and be around her friends, she ended up leaving home at 17 and basically couch hopped and friend hopped and dropped out of high school during that time as well, and then picked up work. And I guess she was staying with like an ex-boyfriend of hers for a while, but that was her boyfriend at the time. And then she was staying with another friend. And then the last person that we know that she was staying with her name was Jillian. And I guess, like I said about her ex-boyfriend, she was like in an on again and off again relationship with him. And I guess another girl, her name was like Kaylee lacrosse. She was also in an on again, off again relationship with the same boy. I'm not sure if it was one boy or two boys that they were like, playing tug of war with a little bit. But I mean, what do you really expect in a town of 900? Like, how many boys do you have to choose from? Like 12? I don't know. How many people go to your school? I have so many questions about that, but I digress. So Brianna is at a party, like 3 weeks prior to her going missing. And I guess this Kaylee girl like comes up to Brianna when Brianna's sitting in a pickup truck, and she walks up to the window. So Brianna rolls the window down, and the girl just starts punching her in the face and punches her like 3 times in the face. And by all accounts that I've read, Brianna did not fight back, did not even attempt to fight back. And everywhere that I've read has said that she knew like jujitsu or karate, taekwondo, one of those things that people know. And they always think that, oh, well, they knew this, they can kick people's asses, right? But I don't know if she like took this shit when she was like in 3rd grade, okay? Because, a lot of people, their parents have them take those classes or those, extracurricular activities when they're younger. So was she like 7 and she was like an orange belt, or what? Like, how do we know how good she was that people are like, oh, she didn't even want to fight back, she had all this stuff? But what if she, took it when she was 7, and that's not going to help her at 17 really, if she didn't even get far, but anyways, she ended up getting like 2 black eyes and a broken nose and everything. And I guess she wasn't going to press charges or anything like that because, snitches get stitches. But her parents were like, you have to press charges. Like, look at your face. And her face was messed up. I'm going to put a picture up. So I guess she ended up filing charges, and she actually had an upcoming case, an upcoming court date. Her and that Kaylee girl, like charges were being pressed on that Kaylee girl for like assault, and a court case was coming up. But Brianna went missing before that court date ever happened. And guess also what that means? That the case was dropped. Is that motive? I don't know. Allegedly, everything I say is alleged. But I don't know. So, okay, all that happens. And then fast forward 3 weeks, she's leaving the Black Tavern Inn, 11:20 p.m., right? She's driving down Route 118. She drives a big ass green 1985 Oldsmobile 88, and it's like a boat. Okay, this thing is big. And if I'm correct, I believe Brianna was only like 5'5", 115 pounds. So I mean, this car was really big. I have heard that she was very independent though, so it does not surprise me that she would be driving such a big car. She's probably like, I can drive this car, I'll be fine, While Brianna was a very independent young woman, she also got into a few bad things. So she started, okay, so you have to remember, there's like 900 people in this town, right? And in cities like that, people get bored and people start doing drugs. And it's so freaking sad, but that's what happened. And like drug dealers, they know these things. Like they go after vulnerable people, bored teenagers. So Brianna actually started like smoking crack and trying cocaine and doing things like that. And there's different theories about like what could have happened to her, but I'll get to that. Okay, so she's driving down Route 118, right? And I don't really know what happens, but like a little bit over a mile down the street, there's this old abandoned house. It's called the Dutchburn house. Okay. It's just an abandoned house. It's super close to the road, like super close to the road. And they find Brianna's car like backed into this house, but it's not probably like the house that you're picturing. I'm going to put up pictures though. It looks like a barn to me. I mean, maybe it was a barn. I don't know, but it said house. Well, whatever. So they find her car like backed up, not into it, but I mean, part of her trunk was like in it. And they find like a broken necklace on the ground. They find a coffee cup on the ground. They find a lime wedge on the trunk, which I don't know what even that means. Like how random is that? Like a lime wedge. Okay. So I'm thinking like, okay, well maybe they were drinking alcohol or something, but they didn't find any of that stuff like in her car. So I don't know if it was like with the other person or what. I just think that that's really weird. Unless that was somehow on her from the restaurant. You know what I mean? Maybe she had it. It would have had to have like fallen off of her or something. Like, did she have it in her pocket? Like, I don't get it. How did it end up on her trunk? I don't know. But that was just really weird to me. So they find that stuff like on the outside of her car. Then on the inside of her car, they find like 2 of her paychecks in the glove box, which I don't know. Why was she not cashing these checks? She just had money like that she didn't need to cash these checks, or did she just get these checks? I don't know. Maybe she had just got them that night. It was Friday. It's probably what it is. Okay. So she probably just got those checks. So I don't know what happened between her leaving the Black Tavern Inn and then getting to that Dutchburn house, because it's only like a mile away from each other. So was she meeting somebody there? Was she about to go buy some drugs? I've heard that people also owed her money and she was selling drugs. So I'm not sure, but was she meeting up with somebody at that place and things didn't go, the right way? That's one of the theories, and that the person took her and then backed her car up into the barn to make it look like she had gotten into an accident. You know what I mean? But still, if you're going to make it look like you got into an accident, why wouldn't you crash the front of it into the thing? Why would you do the back of it? I don't know. It's just really weird. It literally looks like an album cover. Like, seriously, again, I'll have pictures playing throughout this, but doesn't it look like it could be the front of like a band? Like, I hate to say that, but it does. So also apparently that evening around 11:45 to midnight, a couple say that they were driving past that barn and they saw her car out there, and that her front doors were open, like the front door and the driver and the passenger door, and the headlights were on. And another couple said that they were driving by and like a silver Honda Civic almost crashed into them because they were speeding out the other direction. But these accounts were told to the family's private investigator like years and years later. So not to the cops. I think that the one that was reported to the cops was like when that was the very next day when people were passing the car then, and they called it in. They actually are the ones that took the pictures, because when the cops came after they called, the cops never even took any pictures. So the pictures that you see are from the people that saw her car on the side of the road and stopped. Like, whoa, what is going on? This doesn't look right. This looks odd, very odd. So the cops tow her car and they see that the car belongs to Briana. They see her paychecks and stuff in her thing. So they go down to the Black Tavern Inn and, they're like, no, she's not here. We last saw her last night, blah, blah, blah. So the cops are thinking that it's just like a DUI. Like she got drunk, crashed her car, and then just left, right? Like the same thing with Maura Murray, right? And people say that this is a very, very similar to hers because it only happened like 5 weeks after Maura, and like about 90 miles from where Maura disappeared. If you guys don't know anything about the Maura Murray case, I also have a video about her, and there's like so many rabbit holes in that case, but check it out if you want to know more. The cops even know that the car does not belong to Briana. They know that it belongs to her mom, like it's in her mom Kelly's name, and they don't even call her parents. They just don't even do anything. They just tow the car away. And that's it. They say, oh, Briana, she'll come back after she's not drunk, I guess. Like the freak. Parents don't even find out about Briana missing. Like I guess they hadn't talked to her during all this time. But so Briana lived with her friend Jillian, right? And on Friday, Briana was going to work and she wrote Jillian a note and was like, hey, I have a shift. I'll be getting home like a little bit after, 11:30 or whatever. So I'll see you then. But Jillian, I guess, was going out of town to visit family. So when Jillian got back on Tuesday or Monday, she got back on Monday or whatever. But whenever she got back, she noticed that like the note that Briana had left her was in the same exact spot and Briana was not there. Like nothing in the house looked touched. So finally, I don't know if that was Monday and then she ended up calling Brianna's parents on Tuesday, or if she got back on Tuesday and called her parents then, but whatever. She called Brianna's parents on the 24th and told them about it, and they called the cops. And then the cops, but there's like no record of her, no report or anything like that. So her parents end up going to the police station on Thursday, March 25th. And as they're sitting at one of the policemen's desk telling them about their daughter, the actual, like the trooper walks by and hears her parents, and they're like, and he's like, oh, does your daughter have a green, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah. And then he's like, okay, well, we towed that car. And they're like, what the heck? So that's how they found out. So they did do searches, but this is like now what, 6 days later, and they never found anything other than the stuff that was outside of her car. But inside her car, like I said, or I don't think I even finished. I apologize for that. Inside her car were her 2 paychecks, her contacts, and her migraine medicine. Okay, and I wear contacts and I take migraine medicine. And I'll tell you one thing: I'm not going anywhere without them unless I know like that I'm going to be able to go right back to them. Right. So she left that stuff in her car. So either she got into somebody else's car and that's why, also her keys were gone and left that way, or somebody took her keys and, like staged the whole thing. Now, some theories that I've read, they're like, maybe she was leaving the diner, driving on that Route 18, dark AF, and somebody was watching her like at the diner or whatever, has been stalking her maybe, or somebody that had like, had a problem with her. And as she left the restaurant, they were driving behind her and like flashing their lights. And then I guess maybe Brianna pulled over. The person tried to corner them in. She put it in reverse real fast, tried to back out, but actually hit the building. Maybe then her car wouldn't go, and maybe then they got her out. And maybe that's why the necklace was broke and the stuff was like littered around the car. Maybe there was a struggle. What about the lime? Literally, I have no idea. If anybody knows anything about that lime, please let me know, because that part drives me crazy for some reason. So as the years have passed and, we've never found really anything. I mean, the only thing that's really came up is in 2002, the police said that they found some DNA and they linked it back to one of the 11 people of interest. But then, like, we haven't heard anything about it since. Like, and it's now 2026. Cops are saying, the person that the DNA belongs to has been cooperating and we just don't have enough to make an arrest and blah, blah, blah. But I don't know. I don't know if I believe that. Somebody also called in a tip that was saying that Brianna was being held in a trap house. And, the cops even ended up raiding this house. And while they did find drugs and money and guns and all that crap, they didn't find Brianna or any sign of Brianna or anything like that. But this person that called in also said that her body was chopped up and fed to pigs at a nearby farm, which is horrifying and literally straight out of the freaking movies that I never want to watch. And her ex, James, and, Kaylee were questioned and they both were cleared. And her ex-boyfriend, James, actually ended up dying in a head-on collision in 2019. So even if the DNA that they found was his, he's not around to tell us anything, but they found it on the outside of her car, not the inside. So if this was on the outside of her car, like laying around on one of the objects or something, I'm assuming is what they meant by that, then wouldn't they be like, this is a pretty strong indicator that this probably was the person, or this person for sure knows something. You would think, but I don't know, because nothing's really happened. The parents have actually hired their own private investigators in 2025, Lou Berry and Greg Overacker, and they're the ones that shared the witness statements about the person that drove by and saw the car there, and then the other person that saw the Honda Civic almost ran them off the road. But her ex-boyfriend also said that he drove by around like 2:30, 4 o'clock, and saw her car and actually pulled over. And he said that the doors were open and the headlights were on, and that he shut them. He shut the doors, turned the headlights off, and just went on about his way. And he told the cops that the reason for that was because he was coming back from a party in Canada. So they're like super close to the border, right? So he said he was coming back from a party from Canada and did not want to basically tell the cops that he was drinking and driving. But they later confirmed that that was not the truth, and he was at a party like nearby. So like I said, if he knew something or allegedly was the person, then we don't know because he passed away. And I don't know about the Keely girl, but I guess she's gotten in some trouble since then. Allegedly, let me say everything alleged, but I don't know. That little situation is sketchy AF, especially in a small town where, people are pretty close knit, like your friends are pretty close knit. And she wasn't even really from that town. Remember, like she moved into that town. Okay. So, you want to know what I think. Okay. Allegedly, I think that one of her friends, her so-called friends, set her up somehow, and that one of them did something to her. And allegedly, let me say that, allegedly, they did something to her and then staged the car accident or whatever. Either that or they scared her off the road and she was trying to back up really quick and they got her then. But it would have had to have been more than one person. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna guess. Because if it was a girl, she may have had a better chance of fighting that person off. But two people, no. Some people even say maybe it's connected to Montgomery. They thought maybe even Israel Keys, because I guess he was around then, but they have also ruled him out. So yeah, nobody still knows what happened to Briana, just like nobody knows what happened to Maura. In this case, it was 6 days before anybody even knew that she was actually missing and actually looked for her, But to this day, I do know that they are offering a $40,000 reward for any information that leads to Briana, coming home. And, I'm assuming that means alive or unalive. But if anybody knows anything from that day, let people know. Call it in. Call it in anonymously. Call it in not anonymously if you actually know something. And, there's a reward. If that entices you at all, there's money. So call it in. But yeah, and if I've missed anything, please tell me in the comments, and also let me know what you think happened to her in the comments. I'm a new YouTuber and I really appreciate all the support. I appreciate you taking a chance on this video and even clicking on it. So thank you. And if you're still here at the end, thank you so much. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye.